Christy, there you are down at the bottom.
I'm at the what? I'm at the
I saw
bottom of your
you're at the
screen,
bottom
Jim?
of my list. I didn't see you before.
Oh, I'm here. Yes, hi.
You're so shrunken and you're so small.
I am?
Yeah, you're like 1/10 of your video screen.
Hey, really? Am I
You
really?
lean forward, just lean forward.
No, no. When I could look at it, it looks fine, but I just switched my setup, and I could see that's affecting what people see. So,
You're
okay,
fine.
I'll work on
That could
that once
happen
the
too.
discussion gets going.
Yeah, that's right. No, I see you, but you're fairly
It's
minor in your screen.
Okay, I'll work on that. It's must be the Mac to the Zoom thing. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's
Hey,
call this meeting to
don't worry about
order.
it. No.
Well, what? Okay, do we have any proposed amendments to the minutes as submitted? No. Okay, approved. Let's move on to public comments. Any public comments? Kevin.
I am bringing up my video. Okay, there we go. Um, yeah, hi. I wanted to mention a couple things here. So I've been talking about how I think it's important for the council to hear a presentation from the school district about the importance of their roadmap. And I've touched base with the two senior administrators who could make that easily done, and they're very interested in doing so. That's Jared Rosing and Aaron Wheeler. Um, Jared is the Assistant Superintendent for Operations, and Aaron is the Director of Finance and Operations. And they're keen to do it if the council can find a time to make it happen. And then the other thing is, every now and then I get emails and other opportunities from Focus on Energy, but I don't know how well that's known to the residents of Middleton or even the members of the committee here. But Focus on Energy has all kinds of opportunities and resources to help people get free energy saving packs, exploring rebates for energy using equipment, finding providers of home energy assessments. They're really quite a valuable resource, and I think probably one that's not very well known at all. And with that said, I'll hopefully have a good meeting and I'll listen in. Thank you.
Thank you. John, did my appearance change?
Yeah, you're still looking great. It looks the same, but you're fine.
I'm still
You're
small.
about the
Okay.
same size as I am. So
Okay. All right. Anyway, let's move on to any other public comments. Not seeing any. Okay, let's move on to the item number 3, the affordable housing in Middleton. Kelly, I'm going to let you lead on that one.
Okay, I will introduce our guest today to this meeting is Alan Hickel from the Workforce Housing Committee, I believe, and Scott Heacock from in the Planning Department at City of Middleton, and I believe they have a presentation to share, and then there'll be some time for Q&A for the committee.
Thanks, Kelly. Scott, do you have the slides or I could talk through them? All right. The plan that we have here is the result of, I think, roughly 2 years of kind of learning and reaching out to different groups in the community, from developers to housing service providers in the community, to see, what is preventing affordable housing from being built in Middleton. And we did all this research kind of in the context of the regional housing strategy that Dane County is doing and coordinating. They had a much larger project where they worked with about 80 different people on kind of a comprehensive plan for the entirety of Dane County. And the reason why I mention that is that if Middleton built all the affordable housing it possibly could, or even if Middleton did the opposite and built no affordable housing, it would still be a problem. And that every municipality has to work together on this one, because people travel for work, and they some of them live in Sun Prairie, some of them live in Verona, and all the municipalities, I think, kind of have this energy or momentum to address affordable housing right now. Our partners on the Plan Commission and the zoning changes that have happened have kind of laid the groundwork for market rate housing to be more easily constructed, but still kind of with the principles that we want for Middleton. So yeah, that's kind of the background that we've got here. I guess now we'll kind of go through the slides, but yeah, that's the background on it. So slide 2 here is all the people that have been involved so far. It's quite a long list, and I think we've had some people rotate in and out of the different committees that we've got, but it's a joint effort with several members of the council, the mayor, the Workforce Housing Committee, our Community Development Authority, and then several members of the city staff have been working on this for quite some time. Number 3 here is a little bit of what has happened so far. So I mentioned the zoning changes, and really that's, I think, probably one of the hardest things that we've done, and we've already done it in Middleton. So the zoning codes have all been updated and streamlined for the first time in many, many years. It creates a lot more certainty for developers on what they can or cannot build in different areas of the city. And that certainty makes it faster for them to build. And one thing that we learned over the course of the past couple of years is that, and COVID amplified this to a degree that is kind of mind-boggling, is that a week of delay in a project, even something as small as a week, can increase costs to a developer by several $1,000,000 because of how quickly interest rates can change, or how quickly raw material prices can change. And with kind of COVID shortages slowing down, that's a little bit better, but time is still kind of the number one thing that can really hinder the development of some of these projects. So the zoning codes and zoning updates that we did that are I really can't overstate how much that positions Middleton to work quickly and build housing in a fast but responsible way. And then the other one is last April, the Common Council approved the extension of the tax increment district. And that is a mechanism that we can use in Wisconsin state law, that we can extend that tax increment district another year, as long as that money is towards the benefit of affordable housing. So they voted last April to do that. So then we're like, all right, now we need the action plan. So that's what we've kind of got up here. Any questions on that background, or kind of setting the scene on what the city's done so far? Dan or Dean, sorry.
Dean, you're
Hey,
muted.
thank you. Yep, I just got it. I guess my first question that I couldn't find in the slides, and when I read them over by myself, was how much what is the total dollar amount of TID number 3 extension?
It's about $11 million.
And does that all have to be spent in the year?
No, but
No.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, it's a one-time funding.
Mm-hmm.
The trick
And
is
how long?
how to use it in ways that will keep it going for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that we're kind of talking about, and why we want to get feedback on it now is, okay, the TID closure is kind of a one-time opportunity to get those funds and potentially put them into an affordable housing fund. Is it something where we want to make this fund self-sustaining? Are there kind of outlays that we wouldn't necessarily see back into the fund that we want to make? And those are the things that we consider as part of the plan here.
Mhm.
Alan, I'm going to cut over to Laura just for a second, please.
Oh, sorry, Laura.
Thank you.
I just wanted a clarification question on that kind of point too. One of the questions I had in reading this, it said in terms of incentives that the city has already provided 3 million and 11 million. I just want to clarify, have we already spent that money or is it approved to be spent from the TIF?
It's
The
approved to
TID,
be spent. Yeah, sorry, it's not spent.
Okay.
yeah, TID number
I
3
mean, just because
money.
I'm on a council, and so yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
not spent yet. It's not even set in a fund yet. Previous TIDs, I think previous money has been spent on affordable housing, but this TID number 3, we're kind of thinking is the seed money for establishing an affordable housing fund in Middleton.
Okay. Thank you.
Sue. You're on mute, Sue.
Thank you. I guess I had questions about budget also and the TID funding. Is there a time limit? I guess a couple questions. One, is there a time limit on when that funding needs to be spent? I understand it's not just a year, but is there a limit? And I didn't actually see, I know how much my funding is out there. I didn't actually see a real budget though to this effort. And that's a lot of money sitting out there. And I see lots of high, mediums, and lows and some of those kinds of things, but I didn't actually see a real budget for this effort. Is that coming yet? I'm curious.
Yeah,
There's
so
no limit on the time it takes to spend this money.
Okay.
And the budget's not there because we haven't approved a plan on how we want to go ahead with using the money. And that's what this whole presentation is about, is potential plans for how we might go about allocating these monies.
It's hard to approve a plan without some kind of ranges of budget. I'm just going to say, like a cart, horse cart, chicken
Yeah,
egg,
no.
right? I get it.
The budget is $11 million, approximately $11 million. That has no limit on when we can spend it. The only limit is it has to be spent on affordable
Okay.
housing issues.
Okay.
Would you
Thank
like
you.
to hold the questions until after the presentation,
I
Christy,
can do that.
or not? I'm just throwing that.
Let's do that, and then Carmen will come.
Now, this is a framing question that I'd like them to help us to think about how we listen and what we should be paying attention to, if I could. Basically, I was just going to ask, what are the presenters and the other committees looking for the Sustainability Committee in particular to contribute or provide in the way of feedback or input? If there's some framing that we should be aware of to be most responsive and engaged in this process.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
thanks.
Okay, we'll put it over to you, Alan.
sure. I think it's we want this to be something that the whole community can get behind. So this is us kind of getting it out there to start collecting the feedback. The other piece from a sustainability committee is Madison or Middleton does have kind of a priority and a mission for building housing in a sustainable and responsible way, and that that's why we wanted to come to this committee and say, what other things might we not be considering in this that we potentially could.
Thanks.
All right, next slide. Yeah, so the last slide was slide 4.
Sorry, 1 second, I'll get it back where it's supposed to go.
Slide 4 is basically that we none of the ideas that we had were necessarily new, which I tend to enjoy. That there's a little bit of conceit in thinking that the problems that you're seeing are never before seen in the world. Like, these are things that people have done lots of things and tried a lot of different things, so that what that allowed us to do is basically pick from a menu of research-backed, successful programs that not only have worked nationally, but even started to work in Dane County, so that we can kind of tailor this plan to what we think fits our local community here in Middleton, but in the context of broader Dane County. So there's some things on here that we kind of considered, but maybe aren't putting in as part of the plan, just because, you know, we can't do everything. But know that a lot of the things in here, we got them from the regional housing plan, from other municipalities. Sun Prairie had some really, really good programs that they are doing a lot of good things with, in Madison as well. I would say their affordable housing fund journey is probably 10 to 15 years ahead of maybe where we're starting right now. So that gives us a little bit of a roadmap of what this could potentially look like for Middleton. And then next slide this is our funny graphic for kind of characterizing affordable housing in Dane County. So the problem here that we have is we call the big squeeze. So the darker shaded bars are the income level households, and the lighter shaded bars are the housing units that are affordable for that area median income. So starting on the left-hand side, where we have households that are making less than 30% of the Dane County area median income. And we've got that shortfall of, you know, about 13,000 units. So those folks in that income bucket are having to spend more than that, and purchasing up into that next kind of bucket of housing. While on the other end of it, we have households that are making over 150% of AMI, and they don't have units that are necessarily equal to that level of income. So they're buying down. So that's squeezing that middle bucket, so that you know, it's not just the lower income households that are pushed out, but it starts to push out some of those median middle household incomes in the middle there as well. So you've got everybody kind of vying for the same limited stock of housing. And that's not just with the rental market, that's the case in the purchasing, the housing, the purchasing market as well. A couple of reports that we looked at is that even if you were making the median income in Middleton, which is about $90,000 a year, that's quite high compared to national median income, which is a good problem to have. It means that Dane County has high wage jobs that and lots of them that people want to move here for. But what that means is that to buy the median house in Middleton, that's about $200,000 out of that range for that median income household making about $90,000. So median home value, $553,000. And for that to be affordable, that would have to be about $200,000 less for, you know, if you were to stack up 100 Middleton families, number 50 in the middle would have that $200,000 shortfall. So what that means is a lot of families in Middleton are cost burdened in their housing. And that's the next slide here. Cost burden meaning that you're paying more than 30% of your gross income on your housing costs. So before taxes, all in on your housing, if that's more than 30%, we would say that you're cost burdened. So about 35% of renters in Middleton and 29% of homeowners are already cost burdened. So our current neighbors, and that's not counting neighbors that want to live in Middleton because it is such a nice place. There are families in Middleton that are cost burdened with their current housing. And on this slide, we wanted to kind of humanize what those numbers meant. You know, what the annual income would be for somebody at the median income, dental hygienists, architects, and then you've got pre-K teachers, the folks that run the front desks at the hotels in Middleton. Like these are jobs that make Middleton work. And for many of them, it's not affordable. Okay, so the Dane County Regional Housing Strategy kind of recommends some target levels, and this is across every municipality. They have some target levels here. And it's about 318 units of housing per year through 2040. And this is how we're doing right now. So we're roughly keeping up on overall housing units, but where we might have a little bit of a gap is in what we would call legally restricted affordable units. So units that, that previous graph is, are we building enough housing for everyone? And this slide is, are we building enough housing for people that are in those lower income buckets, people who are making 60% or less of that area median income? So the fund that we want to start is not necessarily for just building more houses, because that's one strategy, is you just build more housing everywhere, every which kind. The zoning changes helps us in that direction, be able to build more quickly, while still doing it in a responsible way. What the Affordable Housing Fund does is afford us some strategies that can help incentivize builders or partner with affordable housing developers, where their whole business is building affordable or legally restricted affordable units. So 4 strategies we're kind of proposing with the fund, and then some that aren't necessarily, we won't need funds for, but increasing the number of units for low and moderate income households. So part of what we need to decide in this plan is what bucket are we targeting? And I think ideally would be in that 30 to 60%, 30 to 40% area median income. On the very, very bottom end, people who are making 5 to 10% area median income, that's where federal support tends to come in. So this is kind of in the not quite the bottom of the income bracket, but not even maybe necessarily at the middle, but we're looking for that kind of bottom third sweet spot potentially. Strategy 2 is the protections for eviction, education for current tenants and renters. I think this is the one where we talked about supportive services, which is something that affordable housing developers need to have as part of their projects. But many of them that we talked to said that there is not enough service providers available, or there's not enough resources for service providers for them to move forward with their projects. So they have to have kind of statements of intent for on-site help at the buildings they build to help keep people in their homes, and there aren't necessarily enough of them. So that's strategy number 2, is where we would maybe target some of that supportive care services to help people stay in their homes. Strategy 3, I think, is I think one of the successes, I think it was out of this group, but things like the Energy Efficiency Navigator program, where we provide funds to increase the energy efficiency of existing affordable housing stock so that landlords can pass that energy savings, those lower utility bills, on to their tenants. Our favorite thing about this program is that my mom always says, like, the twofer is the best deal that you can get. The 2-for-1, you get the energy savings, but you also get like healthcare type of savings. But with the Efficiency Navigator program, we were hearing about, not only are we getting the energy savings, less grid use, we're getting lower costs to the tenants, but then groups like the Dane County Public Health Department was able to come in and do work with the Efficiency Navigator program as well. So it's kind of a threefer. So it's a deal that my mom would be nuts over. So we really like that program and think we should amplify its work. And then the fourth one was providing more services to help people potentially with down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, or creating more pathways to home ownership for people that have maybe historically been excluded from that path. Well, I kind of already did these as I talked through them. So yeah, sometimes forget which slides we're doing. So 3 and 4, preservation and ownership. Last slide here is the schedule, at least for the first year. So I think this is where there's some confusion about, oh, we have to spend this money in the first year. No. What we talked about is that being able to get money out of the fund was a very good measurable way to say, are we doing what we said we were going to do in the first year? Because this affordable housing plan is not new, and in some cases we need to do some catch up. So moving quickly on some of these strategies is a goal for this plan. So the two that were kind of shovel ready that we talked about were funding supportive services for affordable housing units. There are service providers in Dane County. Sun Prairie has one that they have a partnership with. There are groups in Middleton that do this already, and we think that we can really give them some more energy and resources to do what we have learned really is a need in our community. And then again, that Efficiency Navigator program, funding more housing rehab in the first year, we think is a really good, measurable, demonstrable way that we can show, yes, we're doing what we said we were going to do with some of these funds. However, to get us started is we need to get this passed in the Common Council, endorse the plan on, I think, April 7th. And then very quickly, we think that we need to bring in another staff person in the city to help administer this program. And Laura, to your point, making the budget, managing that budget, making sure that budget gets in front of Common Council for approval on a regular basis on, this is the next part of what we want to do in this plan, and here's what that would cost. Like, that's what we imagined that staff person doing. And with some of the financing projects with affordable housing developers, they get very complicated and they need to move very quickly, and we want to make sure we have the human capital to do that within the city. All right, I think there's one more slide, but this is probably the best one for questions. So this is the kind of immediate timeline for getting public input. Today is the 27th, the 26th that I'm at the Sustainability Committee. Plan Commission review is tomorrow. And then Abby and Scott, and I'm sure several others, will have some late night writing sessions where we try to incorporate a lot of the initial feedback. And then in February, we're doing some public listening sessions. I think at the City Council Center, we're looking for a home for that. And then April 7th is when the Common Council would approve the final kind of affordable housing action plan. All right, fire away. What are the questions?
Abby.
Oh, hello, everybody. Abby Atun, Director of Planning and Community Development for the city. I just wanted to comment on a couple of things that came up. One is early in the presentation, somebody asked about the 11 million and the 3 million, and that is in the section of the plan entitled, "What have we done so far?" So the city has provided $11 million in tax increment financing, which is an economic development tool that the city uses to several different affordable housing developments that are already here in our community now, going back to 2012 when Heritage Senior Housing on Allen Boulevard opened, And then the most recent project that received TIF assistance is Autumn Ridge. If you've been out on North Parmenter, Tribeca Village, that's a low-income housing tax credit development. The $3 million referred to a pass-through grant that the city received in 2024 through the Community Development Block Grant funding. And that was passed through to the Mill Apartments. If you're familiar with that, that's next to the Metro Market on Century Avenue. I just wanted to speak a little bit on the budget question. This plan does not incorporate a budget. It was developed by the Community Development Authority and the Workforce Housing Committee, two bodies that advise the Common Council but do not have budgetary authority. And so each year, as part of the City Council's annual budget process, they would need to allocate funding coming out of that 10.3 to 10.8 million estimate that we have now collected from the 2025 taxes to this program. And as Alan mentioned, we have the roadmap for year one. Year one will start in April when the plan is approved by the Common Council. So one of the immediate things that would be forthcoming would be a resolution to amend the city's budget for 2026 and determine what the appropriate amount is to spend within the 2026 calendar year for some of those shovel-ready items that Alan mentioned. It is difficult for the housing market to put together a budget that would cover the entire length of this plan because it's a 15-year plan and so many things are changing with the housing market. Alan mentioned interest rates and raw material costs. There's also so many changes that happen with financing availability and need that we're seeing within the housing market. So it really is likely to be part of the city's capital improvement plan, looking at a 5-year planning document, but then it would be an annual allocation by the Common Council for budgeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Abby.
Dick.
Rich, you're muted.
You're still muted, Dick. This seems to be the theme for tonight.
I thought I clicked on it, sorry.
Right.
Okay, I don't know the details. I'm not qualified to get at the details here, but I can attest to the fact that this kind of housing is really needed here. My daughter started out one of her first jobs being a desk clerk at a Middleton hotel system chain, and she couldn't find housing here that she could afford on the salary she was making. Desk clerk was one of the categories that you actually had listed there. And she was able to get, luckily, somebody who was leaving and was having a sublet on her. And my daughter was qualified and was able to get that unit. And it saved her about $300 a month. And with that, she was able to afford living in Middleton, working at a job in Middleton. And it was just really difficult to find that kind of place. And I can appreciate there must be hundreds, if not thousands of people that could use this kind of housing. So I fully support what this whole effort's about. And it seems like everybody's got the details worked out, and I trust our planning department and the people that are pushing this. So I just want to say I fully support this because there is a huge need for this kind of housing, and it fits with our goal and the sustainability committee of promoting sustainable and socially active and programs.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, John.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that Kermit's question before. I think part of why this is here is to make sure that there's nothing in here that strikes you as being significantly in disagreement with what this committee is about. It's not so much that we need to be in approval of this plan, but as the issue, do you see anything in here that says, well, this really just hits on a sustainability issue and runs contrary to what we're about? And personally on the council has seen this, and I don't think it does, but I think that's the big issue of why it's in front of this committee. So,
Thank you. Dean? Dean, you're on mute.
I did it twice now, so double or triple apologies. If you look at the money part of this, which isn't exactly our purview, except for that if there becomes more financial pressure over time to get more people housed, some of the things in sustainable building costs more upfront at this point in time, and there would be pressure on it. So I'm very, very glad if we put in sustainable approaches to everything from the building to the water use to the heating. But if you spend $25,000 on average for support of each renter or homeowner, you end up with 440 possible supports over the entire $11 million. So we need to figure out how we're going to refill the coffers as we go along. And I'm assuming that's part of the plan, is that there's a way to generate more funds over time. Secondly, I'm on the board of housing initiatives. It's a permanent supported housing program for people with severe and persistent mental illnesses. And just recently, the federal government made a move to throw out the idea of housing first and begin the idea of what Utah's trying, which is we're going to build a tent city, the equivalent of an old state hospital, and make people take treatment first before we provide them with any sort of housing. Now, they backed off this time, but they say they're coming back. So I just want people to know that this is not a widely, I mean, there's no evidence that what's being proposed by the federal government works. There's tons of evidence that it doesn't. There's evidence that permanent supported housing does work, but not for everybody, just more than things that previously were tried work, because this is a really hard problem. So I want people to understand that even if you have everybody in Dane County on board, and this is maybe one of the best places in the country for this kind of housing, it's under threat. And we need to be very, very clear that we're not going to back off just because the federal government backs off. But that may be hard to do because they have the funds for that kind of housing. So I'll leave it at that for my two comments. I really, really am in support of this. I really, really want us to do it, even if it's really, really hard and expensive for those of us like me who have money.
Yeah, thanks, Dean.
Okay.
Laura, you're on, yeah, good. You're off mute.
I'm off mute now. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to kind of piggyback a little bit off of that, but I wanted to say this was, you've done a great job on this plan. First of all, I went over it carefully, well thought out. I'm familiar with the Dane County plan, and very good job. I wanted to pass that along. Some things that I was concerned about coming from my background. I actually used to sell affordable housing in Southern Indiana, so ran into some of the difficulties. And so my comments really kind of have to do with financial education and the cost and kind of almost protection from the city too. Having worked with that market, a lot of them don't have the financial literacy needed. And I noticed that was listed as a priority 3. And as someone who worked with them and tried to educate them and get them through, I think it really needs to be a higher priority, because it's hard for them to, like, especially for the people where you're talking about down payment assistance. I just don't think that financial literacy should come after. I think it should become before and be a requirement that if we're going to give you, some assistance for a down payment on a home, you got to know what that means and what you're setting yourself up for. And then kind of following along with that, my thought was, well, what happens if a property goes into foreclosure? Are there any protections for the city to recoup some of their investment costs or anything, or to kind of share, in a loss with the mortgage holder or something like that, and have the banks and credit unions had a chance to weigh in. Maybe that happens during public comments. But I did like that you said this is a very holistic, community-driven action plan. And I would say definitely the credit unions, especially UW, would be able to provide some financial, maybe literacy classes, some assistance, that they would be good partners. So I would encourage that.
Yeah.
So thank you. Those are my
Thank you.
comments.
I'm going to go a little bit, Sue, and then it's over to you, and then John, if you don't mind. So I just want to, because I'm going to piggyback off a couple things Laura said. I agree that the education should be a requirement, the financial education. So, and actually, Abby and Kelly, let's connect offline, because my new day job for over the last year is with the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions, and we actually have quite a bit of public education. Unfortunately, like everything else, there's little staff to promote it, so it's some of the best kept secret, but we do have some good stuff. But I agree that if they get the money, they should be some requirements for the education piece. And I noticed in the readings was some references to Own It, Building Black Wealth. And I just want everyone to know that program is actually not just for Black or people of color. It actually is for anyone to use. I did a different program where we went into someone who was part of that program. We got them a furnace. We replaced their furnace. Long story, but the woman who was the Own It client, she said they were a first generation home buyer, and her comments were, there's all these unexpected costs with homeownership, and we just had no idea. And so I think this is really important for people to understand. So anyway, there's that. And then I'll just wrap up, Sue, and then I'm going to let you have it. But I will say I really want. The only thing I'd be against if there wouldn't be sustainable things done in this housing, because part of being affordable is having a sustainable house and built more for the long term, not just the cheapest things available. Like the lowest efficiency furnace is going to be less expensive, but it's just not going to do much good in the long term. It'll be a short term little fix, but the bills are going to be higher monthly. It's going to burn out quick. It's going to not work as long. So things like, I'm just going to throw this out there when it's possible, is like geothermal still has the federal incentives. I think that should be looked at even before solar. I think geothermal should be before solar in this regard. If you can't do geothermal, I see absolutely no reason why there couldn't be heat pumps instead of just the traditional natural gas furnaces. Now, dual, heat pumps with the natural gas backup, yes. But we have it now, and I am just such a believer in it because they just work so well and our bills are less. And then, maybe where the part of this money could go towards is like, and I'm not saying this as an absolute return, but something like this that keep better efficiency for the longer term. That is what I'm looking for myself. Some of these longer term investments that cost more upfront to do, so does impact affordability. I love the new Bell Farms neighborhood, but it is expensive. Those price points are high. for upfront costs. And so if the city can help out with that aspect, it's just going to benefit everyone because if we have, so we talked about the triple wins. Well, if we have more sustainable things, it's going to be lower price for the, more affordable for those people. It's going to be less on the grid. It's going to be better health for all of us because it's going to be less pollution from the power. So all of that. So that's really my 2 cents. Sue.
Yeah, Christy. Thanks, Christy. Actually, while I was listening to both Christy and Laura, I'm going to just throw in support for both of the things that they've both shared. Certainly, financial literacy should be at the top of the list for anybody who is the benefit of funds from these projects. I Energy Conservation Corporation who used to implement Focus on Energy. I've run statewide energy efficiency programs, new homes and existing homes. So I'm also a huge supporter of what Christy was talking about as far as energy efficiency goes. I would also say with my sustainability hat on, what I'm hopeful for, what I don't necessarily see specifically called out in the plan, but that might be part of the zoning, which I'm not an expert on, is sustainability is more than just the structure. It's at the neighborhoods that we actually live in. So like what I see actually happening in the city, or what I feel like I see, maybe it's just, it just burns at my heart a little bit. It's just a lot of apartments going up and not so much green space and actually true neighborhood and communities. And so I would hope that any brand new affordable housing or even existing structures that are being retrofitted, that we really think about those neighborhoods and with our sustainability hats on and not just the structure of the building, but what does that actual neighborhood look like? And is it truly someplace where people really want to live that's friendly. Along with sort of the financial literacy, and I'll just have one more comment, I'll be done. I could probably go on for a little while, but I also feel like anybody who is a beneficiary of these funds should also have education on energy efficiency, the things that the sustainability programs that are going on in the city of Middleton, right? Like a lot, like those things also should be included. If I have my sustainability hat on and you're asking for input on the, affordable housing, initiatives here, consider those things, all the great things that the city already has to offer and education for those recipients of the funds as well. So just a few other educational items to throw in there. And thank you.
Great points. Thank you. John.
Yeah, from the perspective of the council, I think all of these comments are hugely important and special, but I do want to sort of rain down a little bit on the fact that this is not a document that's the final document that spells out how and when this money is going to be spent. Before you can spend it, you have to put together a framework with the 5 basic principles of what are the categories we want to look to spend this money, and can we prioritize those, and what are some of the potential ideas within that. So I don't see this as the document where you're worried about not being a budget and how we're going to, does it spell about how you have to repay your loans? This is a guideline document that tells City Council, here's the priorities, here's the order in which they're prioritized. So as you go forward and you start to put the committees together to explore all of these other things, this is the guideline. So I think everything you've said is extremely valuable, but I think if you're kind of jumping the gun if you think this is the final thing and somehow this is the document that will detail it all, because it's not.
Yeah, great point. Thank you. I'm just going to add in, lastly, energy efficient appliances. Not the cheapest thing money can buy, but spend, slightly more and get something that's more energy efficient. It's going to last longer. That's sustainable too, for sure. Thank you. Kelly.
My only comment is just to put it in the books, is that I know this isn't the detailed document, but when we get to the point where we're actually putting together the financial stacking and the details of the budget, I just want to make sure that the whole team and the Workforce Housing Committee and everyone that's working on this realizes it's going to take a while to develop things like an efficiency navigator type project. We have a lot of experience with that, but we may want to rethink it or tweak it or think of new eligibility requirements or bring in different partners for that. So I think it'll take a while. It'll require some, I think, engagement with the public as well, not just internally. So it'll take maybe longer, as always, than you think it might take to actually get the details ironed out.
Thank you.
Are we ready for a motion?
Are we looking for a motion tonight, Kelly?
Do you need a motion, Scott or Alan or Abby, if you're on?
No, we don't need a motion tonight. This was more of a review and discuss so that we can incorporate ideas into the plan. So we made sure that they were incorporated on the front end before we move forward with further public input. So thank you all for all your comments tonight. I've been scribbling down notes pretty quickly here.
Yeah.
Just two quick things I want to touch on just with some of the program specifics that came up for the funding of low-income developments. Right now, this plan proposes it similar to the way that Madison and Dane County do their funds, where it'd be more of a revolving loan funds. We would try to cycle those funds back into the program to help maintain this over the long term. And for down payment assistance, we would hope to do that through some nonprofit partners that have experience, like, there's two in the area, Habitat and Humanity and Madison Area Community Land Trust, that have a lot of experience with working with those homeowners to make sure that we're not just getting them into the home, but making sure they're set up for long-term success. So those are just two of the immediate things that just on some of the details of the thought process behind these, but we appreciate all these comments and we'll incorporate them into the plan as best we can.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. I think that was a very robust discussion and we can move on to the next agenda item.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abby and Alan and people for joining us. And Kylie, you're yawning, and yes, so we're going to get to you next and get through. Thank you for hanging out with us late. Oh, and Scott, thank you.
Thanks, Scott and Alan and Abby, for joining us. And I think we're moving on, Christy, right? I can introduce
Yes, we are.
Okay. The next item is the Bach Community Garden Management update and discussion. And joining us is Kylie Shearer and Laura Gessling from the Parks and Recreation Department. And they're going to talk a bit about the Bach Community Garden and how that management has changed over the last year so that everyone understands what's going on with that.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Sorry, I didn't mean to yawn and here.
No apology needed or accepted.
We got twins over here, so life has changed.
You have twins?
Oh, yep.
I didn't know you had twins. I thought you just had one, not two.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Well, congratulations.
No wonder she's yawning.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. Congratulations.
And Laura's are here too with me tonight, but I'm just going to review a little bit of the background of where we are with the community garden, and we have a recommendation that's on the agenda packet tonight, but I can run through that a little bit, and we're here to ask or answer any questions that you may have with the Bach Community Garden. So just a little overview quickly. The Bach Community Garden has been in place for 10 years, a little over 10 years. And the garden is located on Pheasant Branch Conservancy off of Highland Way. And I'm sure you are all familiar with the location, but I'm just giving that as a little background and what we have been working with the Bach Community Garden Committee, and that committee is a non-advisory committee. It's made up of the gardeners that are registered that have plots in the garden annually. So that volunteer committee has worked with us over the past few years, starting in 2024, to make a more formal transition of the city, the Parks and Rec Department, overseeing the community garden management of the garden as in a larger role. And really, we did this transition where the Bach Community Garden was overseeing the garden operations and everything that was happening within that facility and program to having more direct oversight with the city and our Parks and Rec department due to concerns and more of a formal partnership with the goal to protect the conservancy lands and the boundaries and just direction on where the border is and how we interact with each other as it's in a sensitive location. And then also just to review financially and financially plan together for larger improvements such as a fence replacement or if there is a new roof for a shed and what that looks like for covering cost financially on an annual basis and long term. And then the final piece was for the liability of the garden, with it being volunteers essentially working on public land. We were looking at that structure, and what we ended up doing is discussing two different options. One where the community garden committee would become a 501c3 and have an agreement with the city to operate on public land and have their own liability insurance and cover their cost and expense. Or the other option was the city directly overseeing it as a program and facility, much like the community pool, or as an example. So we worked with the committee and they made a vote internally to move in the direction of the city overseeing the program, and they really saw the benefit to moving in that direction. And then we have been working really closely over the 2025 season to plan and come up with the garden manual that's attached to your packet tonight. And that garden manual has taken historical documents, rules and regulations from the past, and any other pertinent operational documents, and put it into one handbook. And it's all been updated to reflect our goals collectively as the committee and as our department and with our mission within the Pheasant Branch Conservancy. So we came up with a document, got it approved by the Bach Community Garden Committee, and then the PRFC had looked at it as a recreational service. They approved it, and we also are bringing it to Conservancy Lands this Wednesday for their committee to review and approve. And so that is kind of where we're at for the background and starting with the 2026 season. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything, but hopefully that gives a good context and also for what we were looking as far as the sustainability committee to comment on. In addition to any questions that you have is, or not comment, but review and our recommendation is just to provide feedback on opportunities to further support the mission of the Bach Community Garden and also identify ways that the committee or the sustainability committee can collaborate with the garden program and the city on community-wide initiatives that advance food sustainability, environmental education, and stewardship of public and conservancy lands. So with that, I'm happy to take questions. Laura Gessling is also, I've been a part of the larger picture of the transition plan with the community garden, but Laura will be overseeing this program moving into the 2026 season and the future. So she'll be the direct contact on the garden program.
Okay, questions, comments? Sue?
Is the manual new? I'm sorry, I don't know a lot about the Bach Community Gardens except for what we've discussed over the last year here and there, as part of the committee. Is the manual new this year or was that already in place?
The manual is a combination of kind of three or more documents where we wanted to have it in one central location so each gardener can sign off that they all have the same information as the new gardeners or returning gardeners. And it's been updated with more it's been updated largely. Just to review, here's plants that we don't want to see in the community garden that would spread seed into the conservancy land. So we really look closely at things like that, or we made up a boundary that also reflects the 2025 Bach or Conservancy Management Plan and what direction they that was approved and is or that management plan kind of matches up with the manual as well. So it is newer, but it's combining a whole bunch of older documents. So there is some new information in there for sure.
Okay. It seems very comprehensive. So
Yeah. Yes, it's a lot.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Dick.
Thanks. I've been on the committee now for 8 years, and I think the first couple of years I was on it, um, we had to review some expenditures from our committee to fund community gardens. So I'm not specifically familiar with the Bach Community Garden, but I know there was some issues over with a community garden next to the school administrative center where the old elementary school was there off of South Street, I guess, South Avenue. And
That
I
was
got to say, I'm
Elm
really
Lawn.
impressed with your manual, with your guidelines, and it's really nice to feel like that this has taken on some shape where people have responsibilities what they're doing and it's self-sustaining. They're funding their own thing, they're taking care of it. And I noticed that if people don't follow the rules, then they're not allowed to continue the next year. So I don't know what you're asking from us for the committee, but I can tell you, having seen, because we were spending a few $100s every year to help with water systems and rehabilitate the soil and everything else on this other community garden. If this is how all the community gardens are being run in Middleton, it's a great improvement from what I saw many years ago, and I commend you on that.
I'll just give a shout out to our Bach Community Garden Committee and the co-chairs that had put a lot of time and effort into getting a draft created for city staff to review. So the volunteers on that committee did a lot of work, and so I'm not going to take the credit for that all the way
Yeah,
there.
this is a quick follow-up, Christy.
Yeah.
Are there other community gardens in Middleton that are being overseen in a similar fashion, or are these other gardens not up to the standards of what you've done for Bach?
So there might be other community gardens, but they're not on public land, something that we will continue to investigate or look into further is the community garden on the district center to see if that is a city function that should be mirrored in how the Bach Community Garden is operated. But that one, right now we're working on Bach Community Garden as it was sensitive to Pheasant Branch. And that would be the only other one at the district center that may be a public community garden on public land. All the rest of them are privately owned. So we wouldn't have any direct oversight on those.
Well, I would really encourage you to also look at the other city community gardens, and if it's only the district school garden there, think about ways to make it work like your Bach one. The Bach one just sounds like reviewing your materials that you provided, like it's being really run really well. And I commend your city staff for doing that.
That's nice feedback, Dick. Thank you. Dean.
Yes, this sounds fantastic. And the uh, question I really have is how many plots and gardeners are we talking about? And have there really been any significant problems that you've uncovered? It sounds like it's working well. So it'd be easy to say, yes, uh, let's do whatever we can to support it running the way it is. But do you have concerns?
I think we just really want to model a sustainable garden and ensure that we're covering costs on an annual basis and look forward to improvements that are necessary for an awesome garden experience. So just planning that out with the committee is important. And then as far as issues with every program facility, with everything that's going on, and there's over I actually don't know the exact amount of gardeners that we had in 2025 off the top of my head, but there's 90 garden plots.
Okay.
And we're looking to expand the accessible garden plots with more garden raised garden beds. I don't know if Laura, you know, the number of garden plots for 2026.
I thought it was right around 95.
95. Yeah, that sounds right.
So if 95 gardeners are getting along together and there
Usually
haven't been
times
big
two.
report. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
right.
pretty great. Yeah. So okay,
Right.
thanks.
Yeah, we have,
Okay.
there's quite a few plots that have like two friends that are together or a husband, wife, or whatever that may be. So with 95 plots, I would guess maybe there's 130 people or so.
Sure.
We could literally have garden parties. This is fabulous.
Great.
John, I see your hand, but we haven't heard from Deb yet. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go to her next.
That's fine.
Then we'll come back to you. Okay. Deb.
I will unmute. I was just going to say, as I read through it, it just seemed super comprehensive, covered every aspect from composting, planting, etc. But the key for me is the committee developed it. They're the people that are working in the gardens. They're the experts, and they approved it. So do I.
Nice. Okay. John.
Yeah, just thinking, Kylie, about you and your staff, all my 6 years on parks. It was always I keep adding things without adding staff. So what does this add to your staff and your budget and your stress concerns? I think it's important you've sort of taken it over, but is this okay? Is this going to work? Especially if you think about expanding it.
Yeah, I think it's
Do you want me to answer
necessary.
that? Oh, okay.
Oh, go ahead, Laura.
No, I was going to say I'm going to be the one taking over the reins once everything's kind of come together. Like Kylie's got the reins right now, and she'll be handing them over, and it'll mainly be me. But that being said, the volunteer committee is amazing, and they've been running the garden since before we had anything to do with it, really. So I'm there to provide support wherever I can and help where I'm able to, but I don't feel like it's going to be a huge undertaking. I don't know if Kylie feels any different, but I feel like they have a really, really good group that are very positive, and they seem to really know what they're doing. Our office admin, she's going to be doing some extra work for registration, but I think once we have that down and we know what we want to do every year, that'll be easier and easier also.
Well, 33 years at the university, it was always we can do more with less. And I saw that on Parks and Recreation. So this is concern. And I'm glad you're going to be involved in doing that. So just I express my concern for you and your twins.
Yeah, I think what it's very much needed, the direction that we are going for the health of the city, and then always with the transition, there's a lot of work to be done, but the garden committee was well aware of all that was required of them throughout this, and they've been more than willing to support us. And then once we get registration built, which we did, and once we get a few of the other pieces completed, it's just kind of turnkey year to year and helping support. So I think we're in good shape.
Nice. Laura, do you have something else?
Yeah, obviously
Okay.
just echo what everybody's saying, very impressed with the manual. It looks great. But in the spirit of you asking us to identify ways that we could maybe collaborate, the one that came to mind for me was almost the composting kiosk. There seems to be some sort of connection you could make if you're growing your own food. I know that they compost in the fall to put the uh, or getting ready for winter to put the plots to bed. Maybe we could coordinate something when we're promoting composting food waste at the kiosk, with an event or something as well. They're gardeners, they might be able to help get the word out. We might be able to coordinate with an event. So that was just something that came up thinking about it on how we could maybe collaborate.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, we definitely would like any of that momentum from your committee, and there are two identified program coordinators on the community garden committee that Laura from my team or on the Zoom today. She can connect and be that bridge with their programming or staff, so or not staff, committee members.
Thank you. Deb.
Maybe a sustainable you at the gardens.
At the
Explain.
gardens, yes. Yes, by the way, Deb, well, we'll get to this later, but the last Sustainable You, I'm just going to quickly jump in, was well attended. Were you happy, Deb?
I was very happy.
It was thrilling, actually.
I was so happy to finish on a high note.
On a high note, yes,
It
yes.
was
So
wonderful.
there are still opportunities. So yes, okay. But thank you, Kylie. And Laura, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you both. Have a good night.
Yes,
You
go to
see my
bed.
note? You see my note in the chat?
We don't need to approve it, Kylie?
It was we weren't looking for approval, but we were looking for any input and just sharing the educational piece of this is going through a big change.
Thank you. Okay,
Looks
go
good.
to bed. We hope to not be too long behind you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
But
Okay.
Christy, I just want to, I guess I want to have my question thrown out there so everybody knows it. I mean, it'd be nice to be promoting the use of these gardens so that maybe renters, lower income people know that they can apply for them
Yeah.
and get, I don't know what the cost is per person to
Yeah.
use the garden, but get some subsidies for them if they're
Yeah.
financially, so
Yeah.
that it isn't just neighbors that are taking advantage of it, but we're really promoting it again for the community that is a lot of people don't have a lot of financial resources, and having them able to grow their own food would be a great thing.
It would, yes.
So
That's
is this part of the plan, how the gardens are being used and implemented?
I'm gonna ask Kelly. I'm gonna stick that back over to Kelly. Any further information or knowledge on that?
What was the question about it again? Sorry, I was typing.
Okay, well, I'm trying to find out from the Parks and Recreation people, are they advertising the use of these gardens and promoting the garden so that renters in low income housing, whatever, or people that have restricted financial resources might benefit from this? Are we making this a program that we're advertising so people can use it to grow food?
I'm not sure how it's advertised. I think the garden committee would probably know that. I think that they aren't lacking in people using the garden plots. I don't think there's a lot of empty garden plots, but I'm not sure how if people who have had a plot in the previous year get precedent the next year, or how they decide who gets a plot each year.
Okay, John.
Yeah, and it's an interesting concept because you also have to put the gardens close to where people can get to them. Because if you have a low income housing and they have to drive their car every single day to water their gardens, that's not going to work. But as a city, maybe we could be thinking about sustainable issues, and certainly the council should think about it, is looking at more possibilities for building gardens near the places where people are in low income housing
Yeah,
and
and
pairing that together.
yeah, and maybe like rain barrels or something next to the gardens would be good for watering.
Yeah, something that makes it accessible so you don't have to have a car to go drive to your garden plot because you can't afford food.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. You have that down, Kelly, right? And I can send Kylie a message too and
Yeah.
CC you, Kelly, about just how are they promoted and advertised. I know in Middleton Hills, we're not low income housing, but we do have garden plots here, and I guess there's a huge waiting list to get a garden plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let's not seeing anything else. Let's move on to the plastic bag reduction. So you're looking for ideas, is that right, Kelly? Just we can't do per the state legislature, we can't do a ban, but you're looking for ideas, right?
Yes, this item was referred to us by the License and Ordinance Committee in December, and they discussed it briefly and then kicked it over to us to see if we had any interest in working on a plastic bag reduction initiative of some sort. And they didn't know quite how to go about that, but they thought you might have ideas. It could be a public service announcement. It could be different various communications. It could be a more formalized program. But they were looking for some ideas, and I think it's safe to say they'd be supportive of that because they referred it to our committee.
Deb.
So would we be allowed to convince or talk to, at least discuss, putting a fee on plastic bags? Aldi's, they don't have plastic. You can't even get a plastic bag there. It's 12 cents for a paper bag, but they are encouraging people to bring their sustainable Middleton bags, so to speak. And so we don't have a lot of food stores in Middleton. Would we be able to at least talk to them about adding a sort of a tax or a user fee on plastic bags, or is that against state law?
I don't know if we're able to do that legally, but so Aldi's charges 12 cents per paper bag?
For paper and no plastic.
Oh, that's
Oh.
interesting. I mean, I think individual stores could make their individual choices to do things. I don't think the city could, develop an ordinance where we required certain things, but I do think we could definitely work with the business district, with public education campaigns, with Metro Market directly on things like that.
So my friend that lived in California said that's how they started it, was they put a 10-cent per bag, and when you think about putting 2 items or 3 items in a bag, they don't put very many items in a bag. You could end up with 15 to 20 bags times 10 cents. It adds to the cost, and it encourages people to bring their own. But the research says that it's better to charge for the plastic than to give people money back for bringing their own bags.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I see that Laura, your hand's up, but we have to have committee members only comment. So I will have to go to Dick.
Okay, well, Deb just answered my question because I think Pick and Save, before it became Metro Market, maybe they're still doing it. They were giving you a discount if you brought your own bags. So it was the number of bags you brought. If, say, you had 6 grocery bags and you brought 5, you got, I don't know how much it was, but some incentive. You got money off your total bill. It wasn't much. It was more symbolic than anything. But I still think we start with that kind of program. I don't think you can add a tax if there's a state law now that says you can't penalize people for buying a grocery bag. I think or whatever bag, even Walgreens, if we can get businesses to agree to promote it with signs, we're going to give you a 15 or 25% discount if you bring your own bag. I feel like a nickel wasn't enough, but if you can get businesses to agree to do that as an incentive to not use, new plastic bags, it seems like that's an easy way to get started without, fighting the Republicans in the legislature.
It says Deb made a good point. Thanks, Dick. That it works better to have pay versus having a discount. To charge 5 cents. It does. We'd have to look at the statute, Deb. It does say regulate/ban. So we'd have to find out what the exact statute says on that. But one of the things I'm just going to quick say before I turn it over to you, Laura Buchholz, is that I like what Costco does, and now Willie Street does it. They have the boxes, the cardboard boxes. They don't even have bags. They're not banning them. They just say, here's cardboard boxes that are from the food that was delivered. So they don't even have bags. I think that
They have
works.
bags, but they're not plastic. They have paper.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't even know. I never get offered bags. Anyway.
I've never gotten a Costco bag. Never.
Yeah, I haven't either. But at Willie Street, they, during the pandemic, they did it. And then I asked them, it probably wasn't just me. I said, can you keep doing the boxes? And now they do. They have all these boxes. So if I forget my reusable bags, I just grab these boxes. So anyway, Laura.
Yeah, I like the boxes too. So kind of following up on that with the ideas, point of purchase matters. Even they were asking for ideas for campaigns. Even if you had a campaign where you had at checkouts, do you really need this bag? I mean, when I go through self-checkout and stuff, I'll see people taking bags, they'll put like, laundry detergent in a bag. It's easier to just carry it by the handle. And sometimes it's just a matter of being reminded, do you really need this bag for that card or this thing that's already got a good handle? And so one idea might be point of purchase signs, to just ask that question, do you need this? Like signage, or have a campaign with downtown or at, the grocery stores and stuff where you kind of do it for a couple of weeks or something, just to put it into people's mind thinking about it.
Good idea. John?
Yeah, I never thought I'd agree with Dick, but Dick, you kept talking about bags in the parade. I mean, this has to be a marketing campaign. What if you stood outside and you hung 100 bags in front of the grocery store and said, "Please take one of these and save the world by not getting the shopping."
Or have them at the checkout, even
at the checkout
versus,
or something where you could.
Yeah.
You're not actually, because you can't force the store to do anything, but you're educating the people and saying, "Here's a free bag. Walk in the store and please take this bag with you." Something like that. I mean, it really comes down to an educational issue, I think, and just there could be creative ways we as a committee could come up with educational advertising kinds of things that where we don't have to go in and convince stores to necessarily change their whole habits, but get the people to change their habits.
John, the bags aren't free. They're about $2.30.
I know, but we were going to give them free to the people in the parade. So
I know, because we're a great committee, right?
yeah, so that way here's just an option for your bags.
Yeah. So do we want a small, just to keep this moving along, we're approaching 8 p.m. Do we want a couple of people working on this to get back to you? Or do you just want to take these ideas, Kelly? Or, we gave some ideas. Do you want to just provide those ideas back? What's the best?
Christy, could I suggest, since this is a big topic and brand new and didn't really have time to think about this, now we've just opened the door, that we bring it back at the next meeting and make it as a major first item on the list, not the last item on the list. Have a big discussion about it, and we can all think about it.
Sounds quite fair. Okay, let's do that. All right, so then let's just, is it okay with you now though, John? We keep moving along?
Yeah, let's get done.
Okay. Yep. That's how I feel. I don't want to go till 8:30, so let's try and.
No. I have to leave at 8. So
let's try and wrap up for tonight, and we can always take offline things we need to. Okay. Anybody with staff report? And I definitely want to get to Deb. I want to get to the Sustainable Middleton Award. So let's.
And I also have to get to the bird initiative thing.
And the bird initiative. So let's keep the staff comments short if we can. If any, or you can just take them offline. Good. Okay. Operating budget, it's early. By the way, Kelly, thanks to everyone. Kelly went and bought with our remaining budget money all the bulbs, researched them, worked with Ace, went and delivered them to Way Forward. So thank you, Kelly. And the compost buckets and the lead plaques. You were busy towards the end of the year. Laura, do you have a very quick update on the sustainable purchasing policy, and then anything additional we can email?
Yes, the index survey is out. It's been open for a week. I've asked Brian Gatto to send another reminder, so it'll be open for another week. So by our next meeting, I should have an update on how the survey went, and hopefully an update. We hear back from Brian Gatto about the language and RFPs. So we're making progress.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Brad with Green Team's not here. Let's start with you, Deb. You go with your two because they're very important, and we'll work from there. But I think those will probably be the wrap up.
Well, from what I hear, the Sustainable Middleton Award, we're getting some applications or nominations, which is going well. Dick and I, from the last meeting to now, Dick and I have been talking with Kevin Short and Tony Crom, the forester, about getting wood that's down trees that could be made into our plaques. And what was suggested is the Sustainability Committee come up with ways of putting an urban wood utilization program into the city comprehensive plan and or the sustainable city plan, how we use down trees in sustainable ways.
That's great.
So that's, we need to think about it, not tonight, but
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm going to quickly add that the woodworking class at the high school is so popular, and it's even difficult to get into. My son can't even get into the class. So we might want to do a partnership with them for a separate discussion.
Yeah, because we already talked about the big tree that's down, the 41-incher that we don't know how to cut up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
the Wisconsin Master Naturalist was offering a course, a training, called a Bird Ambassador Training. It's going to be up in Stevens Point in March. And I got a hold of Brenna Marsachek from Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance, former Madison Audubon, and asked about that course. And she would love to partner with us to put on this course that is going to talk about the problem of bird strikes on windows and how to prevent that from happening. It's an 8-hour course, and Wisconsin Master Naturalists, they were charging $75 to do the course for advanced training, and SWBA gave $50 toward that fee, so that participants only had to pay $25. So if we partner with them, and we had 20 individuals that signed up for the class, and charged them $25, that's $500. That would cover the 2 instructors. And if we could come up with $250 for materials, we could have this community educational program to reduce bird strikes on windows in Middleton. And remember, almost half of the bird strikes happen on single family houses, not the tall rises, super tall rises. So there's a requirement for 2 public outreach events per year, or for that first year, for anyone that takes the class. So that what's happening is the 20 people are getting trained, and then they're going to go train other people. So it's going to help the community to be educated on this, I think, very important situation with bird strikes. 1 billion birds a year in the United States alone are dying because of hitting windows.
You know, just to comment on behalf of the city too, because the council passed last year a resolution that all commercial buildings, the first lowest 30 feet of windows have to be bird protected. And so there's certainly got the city behind this.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why I thought this was particularly important to have this training. But the other thing is, which I didn't mention, is that Kelsey Bell, who is with Bird City, Wisconsin, she's the one that would be partnering with Brenna Marcichek. And what they would like to do, because we're in the process of a renewal going on right now with Bird City, Wisconsin. Kevin Short is doing that. We would partner with Bird City, Wisconsin. So we would ask communities that are Bird City, Wisconsin communities to join us in getting participants in this training.
Yeah.
And the best dates for them would be March 21st, which is a Saturday, or Sunday. And I propose I can get Cromrie for free. So we wouldn't have any cost for the room.
Yeah.
So what I need from you is agreement to have this particular class, and I will work with Brenna and getting this to come to fruition.
I give you a thumbs up.
Yeah, I would say this is huge. I had a bird hit my upstairs porch and die. And at home, this was just last fall. And then I also had a bird hit my office window and die. So this is very important. So do you want like an official, John, you have a motion? That's a motion?
How much are you asking again that the committee would support, Deb?
$250 for the materials for the course and any flyers that would be going out.
Well, I will make a motion in support of that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Well, I just want to know, are we also, the registration, I thought you said was $25 per person, but you're not talking about 10 committee members. You're talking about the materials would be available for a special presentation here at Cromrie. This is an addition separate from the thing going on in Stevens Point, right?
Right, you're right. Yeah, that's for Wisconsin Master Naturalists, and they get first chance to get in. This would be for our community or other Bird City communities in the vicinity of Middleton.
And if we wanted to go, we could pay ourselves too, right?
Yeah.
Right. I was just saying we don't have to charge $75 like Wisconsin Master Naturalists.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
We can charge $25 and multiply that by 20 participants and pay for the instructors. So
Got it. Yeah.
costs would be very little.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Dick, you had a second, but then you had the further discussion. Do we have any other discussion?
Well, I'm just wondering what's the Pheasant Branch Conservancy, because you guys are really big on birds and wildlife. What's the role of Pheasant Branch Conservancy on
Well,
this?
I'm on the education committee. If you guys give me the thumbs up, I'm going to get the thumbs up from the friends. We're going to be partners too. That's what I think anyway. I haven't asked.
So you're asking for $250 of our 2026 budget to support this initiative?
Correct.
Yeah, and I seconded that motion that John made, so
Okay. And no other discussion from anybody else? So, okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Not seeing any. Okay, thank you.
Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Deb. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Muchísimas gracias.
Okay, do we have other things that can't wait, Kelly?
Yeah, could I just go through a couple things? We don't have to have we don't have to have a discussion, but just so you're prepped for the future. So quickly, for the school sustainability committee, if Kevin's still on here, Aaron Wheeler and Jared Rossing. Oh yeah, sorry. I don't know why I blanked on that. They are going to speak to our Common Council on February 17th, I believe, to talk about their climate roadmap. So that's already been scheduled. I need to meet with them about that presentation. The building guidelines for development right here really should be its own agenda item in the future, but I wanted to say that that is coming. That's something that the committees, you've talked about doing it, and staff has mentioned that it would be great for the sustainability committee to get together a list of items that they'd like to see sustainability wise for all new developments, sort of like what you put together for the new Viridian development out on High Road, but have something somewhat standardized from the committee, like all, native plants and yards. It doesn't have to just be energy stuff. It can be
Yeah.
the things the sustainability committee would like to see. And if it's formalized and voted on as a committee document, then we could provide that to Plan Commission and they can look at it so that developers know up front that instead of coming to the committee like really late in the design process, they know up front what the committee would like to see, and Plan Commission would know what the committee is expecting to see. None of it is a requirement, but at least we can state really early on in the process what you want to see. So that's something that would probably
Oh,
require
yes.
a subcommittee and, longer term work. But I'd like to work on that this year if possible. And then the leafways, pollinator habitat, slow-mo summer item, that sort of came to us, should probably be its own committee or its own agenda item in the future. But Public Works would like to work with our committee to develop messaging or things we can put in the utility flyer, the Public Works newsletter on how to reduce the leaf and yard waste that people are putting on their curbs, because it's become it's a huge task for the city to go through and collect all of the yard waste, but they really want to continue that program. But they would like also for homeowners to do more leaf composting or keep the leaves on their grass and keep it in their garden beds, and
Yeah.
message some education about that throughout the year. So that would be both a spring and fall messaging.
Okay.
So that's another one. And then the camping event was brought to my attention by Parks and Rec. There's going to be a camping event held in Orchid Heights Park on August 7th. And they're looking for programming and fun things for campers to do overnight in that park, and they were wondering if the Sustainability Committee would like to offer any kind of collaboration or ideas for a session that could be available at the park for families to do. Maybe there's a how do you recycle, and there's like a little table set up showing what you can recycle, what you can't. Could be anything. It could be about native plants. Anyway, that's an idea generating. They want some ideas and wonder if the committee would be willing or would like to partner with them on that. They decide all these things early on, so it's not something that can wait until the fall. Or until late summer. We would probably start working on that in the next 1 or 2 months. So I'll put that on the next agenda as well to talk about. But
Okay,
those are
Deb.
the items.
Thank you, Deb.
Real fast. For School Sustainability Committee, I just wanted to mention that I was working with Jared Rossing, and we are in the running for we being the district, the school district. I always say we because I was part of it at one time. But anyway, the school district will now be in the running for the Wisconsin Stewardship and Sustainability Award, which is the state equivalent of the Green Ribbon Award, which is no longer because there's no Department of Education on the federal level. So we have applied for 12 different badges in sustainability. We've gotten all 12 of them, which makes us in line to get the state award if they so choose to choose the district. So I just wanted to mention that. That comes out in March or April, the news on that. And the other thing is an idea for the camping event would be to have one of our graduates from our bird ambassador training to train people at the camping event in using devices to keep birds from hitting your windows.
I love that. Okay, perfect. I'll continue on the utility flyer. Kelly and I have been doing it. If anybody wants to help, say the word. Otherwise, I'll just work with Kelly and get ideas where I can. Also, lastly, the building guidelines for development. I worked on that previously with Lynn for Viridian, and I have a list that I need to put in writing. So anyone who wants to work with me on this, say the word, email me, and it'd be great. Otherwise, I can do it, and Laura will do it if nobody else wants to, but Laura already has her hands full. So I'm going to leave it there. I think that's it for tonight. Do we have a motion to
I move we
adjourn?
we.
You agenda. That's how bad it is. We're all too tired. We're agending
Let's-
tonight.
That's these twins.
Let's agenda for the evening.
Yes, yes. Okay, we're agending. Do we have a second for
I have a
agending?
second.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No nays. I'm just
Aye.
going to say
Good night,
no
all.
nays. Okay. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Thank
night.
you.